Welcome to Daily Tax Savings. This is Tony Novak here to share a few points on saving taxes and staying out of tax trouble. Today's episode is about a client's $150,000 penalty notice that they received yesterday. And what I'm going to do is just step through the process and to look at how we look at it, how we break it down, and how we will ultimately solve it. So in this case, it was an older, retired, former business owner in the wrap-up stages of their business, received a $150,000 late filing penalty notice. And of course, the first step is call me in a panic. And some people are stressed more than others, but the $150,000 penalty for a working class individual in retirement would certainly cause stress and panic. It's life changing for someone like that. So, of course, then the response is a little bit of panic, and I understand that. I know that some tax pros would get upset if someone called them demanding an immediate response, and that. But I understand it. That's the normal human response when you're in a situation like that. So, and I've said before, the very first thing is to offer assurance. And the fact is, I hear about that, and then maybe they send a text message with a photo of the notice or upload it. So I have just maybe one or two pages. I don't know what it's all about. But the first thing is just to offer assurance and say, look, don't panic. Let me look at it. Let me go through it. Let me review the case file. Because the second thing is clients expect me to remember every detail of their business and tax situation. Obviously, I do not. I have to go through in an organized, systematic way and review the entire case file to find out where we stand, particularly if we haven't worked on it lately. So I said, look, I will follow up within a day. That was yesterday. So today I reviewed the case file, went through the whole thing, and it is time consuming. But when you have a penalty of this size, it warrants that extra time. So I did put the time into it. And so when I'm looking at a case like that, with a penalty like that, I'm looking at it from a couple of different angles. One is, how did it get to be this way? That's all the crazy story part. Second is, what did we do and what are we going to do from a procedural point of view? Do we have this under control? Is this normal? And it turns out, by the way, that this penalty notice was perfectly normal, computer generated, perfectly expected, and nothing unusual. And I had to come back and offer that assurance that the penalty will be dismissed. And normally I have to qualify any statement by not being so confident. I can't control what the IRS does, and they could dismiss us or they could enforce it. I don't know for sure. But in a case like this, in this particular case, I had a high degree of confidence that the penalty will be dismissed. And there are two ways to look at it. One is on a procedural basis. In other words, was it a fair penalty? Was it justified? Was it forgivable under the rules of operation? Can it be abated? And all those answers are yes, it can be abated. But then secondly and separately, there is a practical approach. And in this case, what I mentioned, it's a business and wind-up. If the business is being penalized doesn't exist anymore, it's a corporation, and you're assessing a late filing penalty of a corporation that's already wrapped up their business, there's no chance of collecting that, and it will be dismissed. So again, for both reasons, I felt highly confident that this was going to be resolved. The other thing we need to look at is I need to look at my responsibility when I went through things. Did I do everything properly? Did I provide the proper legal notices? And in many cases, there are situations, there are things that don't make sense and I say, look, I'm not preparing your tax returns, but these numbers don't line up. And you may have an obligation to go back and fix your tax returns. That may or may not be the case, but the point is that was not my engagement, but I did have a legal responsibility to notify of things that I saw that were out of whack. They just didn't line up, weren't part of my particular engagement, but may come into the picture. Then in the final part of this was to look at what could go wrong. What am I worried about? What are my concerns? And in a case like this, often one of the topics, I mentioned how confident I was that this was going to be resolved. But one thing that could mess that up is if I don't have all the information, if I don't have the whole story, if there's another part of the puzzle out there that I don't know about, either deliberately or not, that the client didn't give me, and that could be a further complication. I don't think so, but I do have to keep open to that. So that's how we tackle a problem like that. You just approach it calmly, and again, by the end of the day, I was able to say 1, 2, 3. Your tax preparer needs to do this. I will do step 2. I will do step 3. We'll have it dismissed. It'll take a little bit of time. It'll take her patience and continued reminders not to stress about it. Probably take some number of months, but ultimately it will work out fine. I would welcome any thoughts, comments, feedback. If you've ever been in a situation as stressful as this, I'd welcome discussing it either online, or if you want to talk about your private situation, we can do that one-on-one. Find me at taxproblems.cpa website, and we'll set up a time to talk. I'll be back tomorrow with another tax